even if your feedback is kind of, let's say, constructive and kind of with an idea in mind, with an objective in mind, people take it as a gift. Feedback is a gift.
We've figured out a way to do it without radiation with fiber optics. Again, that history of light in Phillips. So we figured out a way to be able to run a catheter up and use fiber optic, the beam of light, the way it bends, to show the physician where the wire is, the catheter is to go in the heart, with no radiation. When you go hiking, you will go up when you're fresh, and you come down when you're tired. But in Grand Canyon, you go down when you're fresh. You go up when you're tired.
Oh, no. That's not the kind of hike I like. Good morning. Welcome to Mashable Mornings or Shez.
Sid.
Morning. Morning, Sid. Are you a doc as well, Doc?
I'm a doc.
Yes. Just tell me a little about what you all do and how does it feel to be doing so much and achieving so much?
I'm Shez Partovi. My role at Phillips is, I have two roles. I'm the Chief Innovation and Strategy Officer.
Wow.
And also I head up all our worldwide software businesses, our enterprise informatics businesses. So in the innovation and strategy role, what I do is I work with our entire company and our board to set the strategy for the company and where we're going to go in the next year, in the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next decade. And then in my enterprise informatics role, I am responsible for the software business globally. We have a number of software businesses that we run worldwide, of course, here in the Middle East as well.
All right.
So I'm accountable for all that business as well.
Yeah, I'm also a doctor, and I work in Shez's team, basically in the region, Middle East, Turkey, and Africa.
Yes.
He does global, I do the region.
Interesting.
And the way we do it is actually we bring the best of Philips, but also we partner with the local customers and partners so that we have solutions that are catering the specifics of the region as well.
I think it is imperative we tell our audiences that we've made an exception. This is not the usual format of Mashable Mornings. We have two guests this time. Also because we're talking about healthcare and it is the Arab Healthcare Week. How much of a amalgamation of many, many minds is that? What is happening at a usual day at the Arab Healthcare?
It's my first year here.
Oh, yeah?
And I actually now thinking I should have come more often. So first and foremost, I'll be here back again next year. Then what's
nice to hear.
Yeah, what's really incredible about, I was talking to some of the teams and Samir, you remember last night, this is what I was sharing with our partners and our customers, that after 2 days, I would tell you that there are 3 words to me that describe Arab health. The first word is pioneering. I am amazed by the spirit of pioneering that I see in the customers here and the partners that we have here. And by the way, what pioneering is, pioneers are where they go where no one has gone before.
That's true.
And there's a sense here of wanting to leap and to sort of skip all the things the rest of the world may have gone through, just leap into digital transformation, into AI. So that's word 1, is pioneering.
Yeah.
Word 2 is pace. The pace at which I see the health system, the organizations here, the countries want to move is unprecedented to me. That's just this incredible sense of thirst to just, how fast can we go?
Really?
It's incredible.
So cool.
And then the third word, and this word I suspect you might connect with, which is there's an incredible sense of pride.
Yeah.
There's a pride here that we want to do it right. We want to do it innovatively. We want to do it fast. We want to do it for our country and our people. And there's this, the pioneering pace and pride is what I see here in the past 2 days. So I regret having not come in prior years, but you can be sure that I am going to be here next year.
So cool. What about you, Doctor?
Yeah, and to add to what Shez was saying is the fact that you get the perspective of the authorities, regulatory authorities, operations, health system, but also partners. And the one thing that is common to them is beyond the software, beyond the technology, are people. Now, how do we ensure that our people are taken care of the best way possible? But also, how do we ensure that our caregivers are given the tools to actually achieve this ambition? And for me, this is what drives me every day. Really having the people and the patients in mind makes our life and the technology, it gives life to the technology, right? It gives life to the software.
We have to take the audiences through your journeys a little because it doesn't start here. And they'll be surprised to know that a healthcare professional was once at AWS and has another past history. So take us through that. And there's, of course, a lot of your Algiers content that we need to hear about. So each one, please take us through your journeys.
So, like, I did my undergrad in medical school in Canada.
Yeah.
So I did medical school in McGill in Montreal, but part of my undergrad was a lot of computer science as well. And so I had this duality of, do I go into computer science and continue that career, or do I go into sort of biology? So I ended up in medical school and did medicine.
Just quick interjection. I am totally envious of your campus.
Oh,
what a beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, my global sister went there. She's a dentist.
McGill is a terrific school, yes. And it is a beautiful campus.
It is. It's like Hogwarts.
So then I did my training in Canada and did my subspecialty training as well. But while I was practicing, I practiced for about 10 years as a neuroradiologist.
That's true.
But during those 10 years, every 2 years I did a startup because I couldn't give up my passion for sort of using computing to see how I could advance care. And so I was working in the daytime doing angiography in the evenings, and on the weekends I was doing the startups. I did 5 of them. One was a spectacular failure.
Congratulations. I love C-suit who can talk about the failures so nicely.
I have bruises that you can't believe from my face. But I learned a lot, and of course that's the important thing. And then eventually what I did is the health system I was working in, to the credit of the CEO, he said, look, you're doing all these startups on the outside. Have you thought of doing like an intrapreneurship inside the health system?
Kudos.
And so he said, look, why don't we make you chief digital officer? Can you help transform the health system? I was part of the 3rd largest health system in the US, based in San Francisco. It was the largest in California. And so I thought I was just going to take a 1-year sabbatical and just go do executive work as chief digital officer. So I ended up being 4 years. And we were transforming the whole health system. We were in 22 states was the coverage, 140 hospitals. And all the transformation we were doing it on AWS. And so eventually AWS called and said, you know that thing you're doing in the United States with that large health system?
Yeah.
Would you like to come and do it for the whole world? And so I joined AWS, moved to Seattle, and it was a worldwide head of healthcare, life science, and genomics there for a number of years.
Informatics and the whole stream.
And Phillips was one of the organizations I was working with. So eventually, when my predecessor retired, the CEO called and said,
just by the way,
and look, Phillips, I had learned a lot about it while I was at AWS.
Yeah.
I love the culture. I love the fact that the mission of Phillips was to improve the health and well-being of 2.5 billion people every year by 2030, of which 400 million should be in underserved communities. And so this really resonated with me. And so I jumped at the chance to come over and to be in this role. So that's sort of my meandering journey of wandering till I'm here.
Kudos to some of those mentors and those good people who let you be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos to them. And I'm grateful to them, actually.
Yeah.
Grateful to them.
What about you, sir? You've had a fair amount of movement on all across the world kind of journey yourself.
Yes. I'm a doctor. Actually, I'm a psychiatrist.
Oh, wow.
So after my medical school, I went into a specialty in psychiatry. But then at a certain point in my life, there was some incidents health incidents in my family, my daughter, and the way it has been done, at a certain point, I said, okay, something can be done to actually improve the experience of the patient, especially a very small child, and their parents, right? And then there was kind of in life you have things that happen to you. I mean, it's meant to be. And I met the business side of it. So I decided that at a certain point I need to have this view on how things are done on the other side. And then I moved to IT, and specifically in health IT, because there was one thing that for me would become absolutely critical if we want to evolve in how we provision healthcare, is the use of technology.
That's true.
So that's why I kind of moved to health IT with a company, Microsoft, and I was leading, and this is why I came to Dubai. I was leading the healthcare industry for Microsoft. But as Shez was saying, a pure technology company offers you the software, the platform, but the way to do it actually closer to the patient are companies like Phillips, and this is why I moved in a way to do things that are really changing the lives of people. And this is what I do every day, having software and technology that actually helps people directly, and we can measure it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing all of those good things. What do you say when technology is giving you solutions? What do you mean when the machine itself knows 5 things more than it did 10 years ago? What is this new technology that we keep talking about?
We're at a point actually where the technology is able to really support the physician in a couple of different ways, and actually the nurse, the clinician, and the patient too. We can come to that as well.
Yes, of course.
And so what we're at a point where, if you look at it, technology can, if you broadly look at it in two ways. One is help you make a diagnosis, okay? And then we'll talk about that in a second. And then the other is actually help to make your job easier, that maybe it's just the regular things you got to do in your daily job.
Yeah.
So let's talk about each of those. So, for example, in the idea of help you make the diagnosis better, we have at Phillips, we have in Norway, we have deployed our image management system, our PAC system. And what happens there now, and that is in 30 hospitals, that covers about 70% of the Norwegian population. Every X-ray that's taken AI is used to automatically screen for a fracture. And if it sees a fracture, it moves it to the top of the list so the radiologist can read it right away to treat the patient faster. So this is an example of where technology can actually support
Speed up the process.
Yes, speed up the diagnosis, because faster diagnosis, fast treatment. And in some cases, you can imagine where there might be even things that physician may have overlooked that technology can pick up. So that's sort of one space of helping with diagnosis. So here's an example. If you're a radiologist and you're reading an MRI that, let's say, has a tumor on it, and then there are 3 other past studies from the same patient that also show the tumor, and you're trying to see, is the tumor getting bigger, is it getting smaller, is the patient responding to treatment, or is the treatment not working? So you have to measure the tumor on the first film. That might be 1,000 images.
Yeah.
Then you got to open the last one and measure another 1,000 images to find the tumor size, then maybe the last one as well. That's a perfect job for a computer to do.
That's true.
So using AI, you can measure the volume of the tumor in the current study, and then the AI can measure the volume in the last study, and the last study, and then give you a trend.
Also give you a warning before you can recognize it.
So this is where the task is just measuring. It's really not sophisticated, and you'd rather have the radiologist focus on other things. And so that's an example where the technology today, the AI, can just make things that are repetitive and menial done automatically.
I love that.
So either diagnosis or workflow optimization. Those
Everything will be faster.
Faster, simpler, better. It gives more time back to clinicians and allows you to spend more time with patients.
More efficient.
Yeah, look, that gets me excited. It's not obvious.
Yes, yes. This is a whole different conversation.
Yeah, to me, this is why I love the innovation side of my work, is because we're at a point in the world where there are things that used to be hard that technology is making easy. That's interesting. But you know what really excites me and Phillips? There are things that used to be impossible that are just hard.
Just hard.
But do you see the difference?
Oh, wow.
See, there are things that were hard that AI may make easy. That's commoditization. But we are at a point where in the world, there are things that we used to think that's just impossible. And now it's just hard.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All of y'all who are using a GPT or any of those
think about it.
CLN models.
They used to think it was impossible,
and
now it's just hard. Well, not hard for them, but...
That's true. What about you, Doc? How much of yourself are you continuously having to educate because of so many developments?
Look, it goes very fast. Absolutely. And when I think of my practice, I started some years ago.
I wasn't born then.
I would never have imagined in another era.
Yes.
I would never have imagined that we will reach this point now where a lot of things are being offered to the clinicians to just care better for their patients, right? But on the other side, there is also the fact that there's the reality. The reality is that the population is aging, so people will live longer. And by living longer, there are more chances that they will get sick. And if they get sick, it's usually a chronic disease. And when you get into a chronic disease, you start consuming a lot of health services, whether it is private, government, whatever. And someone needs to pay. So at a certain point, you need to look at it from the offering perspective, but you need to look at it from a cost perspective. Because, the cost would go exponentially because people live longer. 40, 50 years ago, when you were diagnosed with diabetes, it would have been a, catastrophic event, right? Yeah. Now, you will probably live 30, 40, 50 years with your diabetes, but you will consume a lot of health services, right? So at a certain point, we need, this is where the technology being pervasive enough and kind of really getting everywhere will reduce the burden on the clinicians, will reduce the burden on the health system so that we can continue to provide quality care.
I love that.
Shez was talking about the radiology, the imaging. But for example, think of a critical care setting, intensive care units, where usually it's the most stressful part of a hospital. And by the way, the most finance consuming part of the hospital, right? And these are patients that are critically ill.
Yeah.
At a certain point, there are a lot of things that are automated that the machines can measure for you as a doctor, and then gives you perspective on what's going on. If a patient is deteriorating or a patient is getting better, when to discharge the patient from the ICU and send him to, when gives you prediction on what are the chances that this patient that you're discharging will come back in the next 48 hours.
Oh, really?
So these are the type of things that will help tremendously reduce the burden on the doctors, but also reduce the burden on the system. And when in using this type of technology, you reduce mortality by 30%. Think of it. This is 1 patient out of 3 that will not die.
What are the kind of things that are exciting both of you all currently that are happening at Phillips?
I'll tell you this. The Phillips, I'm going to tell you a particular thing because it's just exciting.
Yeah.
A particular thing. So, you know, the Phillips, you probably all know Phillips for lighting.
Correct.
Of course, Phillips now is focused on healthcare,
Yeah.
divested of lighting, even though the brand still exists. A different company makes it, we've licensed the brand. But light has been part of Phillips' journey for a long time. And one of the most interesting and exciting things that we're doing is going to healthcare, of course. Now, you know, if you've ever seen a movie with an angiogram being done, where the cardiologist puts the angiogram and the catheter goes in the heart or the catheter goes in the brain, you've sort of seen it and heard about it.
Correct.
And the way it's done is with X-ray beams.
Yes.
X-ray is radiation. So you put a patient under the table, you X-ray beam, and you put the catheter. Well, we've uncovered a way, and this is known publicly, we're sort of discussing it and we're experimenting. We've figured out a way to do it without radiation with fiber optics. Again, that history of light in Phillips. So we figured out a way to be able to run a catheter up and use fiber optic, the beam of light, the way it bends, to show the physician where the wire is, the catheter is to go in the heart, with no radiation. We're in the early days. We have some key partners. We're doing this experiment. But listen, this will change the way it is. And I love this story because it's the heritage of light for Phillips.
Yeah.
We've been innovating with light, with compact disc. We were sort of co-innovators the compact, and we've been using light for digital pathology, for scanning the pathology side, and now for really going inside the human body with fiber optic light. So that to me
changes everything.
Is everything. So it's one of them. It's called fiber optic reshape sensing 4s.
Wow.
And just incredible. It really excites me.
Superb stuff.
You will hear about this.
Yes, you heard it here first.
In your lifetimes, you will hear about it. As I say, it's not a secret because we've talked about it publicly.
Yeah, but we like to be exclusive.
Yes. It's exclusively here. That will change. So
yes,
really, the reality is we're innovating to improve the health and well-being of people all over the world. This is what Phillips' DNA is: innovation, and these are the examples of innovation that are breakthrough, not just incremental.
Yeah.
These are the ones that change an industry.
Perfect.
That will change the industry.
I mean, while you're rising, you're also diversifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Super. What about you, Doc? Anything particular to the region that we should also know about?
I'm lucky that the person who is in charge of my business in informatics is also the person who's in charge of innovation and strategy.
Nice.
Because for me, it's extremely exciting that the Shez team kind of continues innovating, continues bringing those solutions, because then it makes our life kind of, look, I mean, every day I go out and I meet customers and partners, and I'm proud because there are things that I really believe in, things that can change the way not only the patient is taken care of, but really changing the world, right? Healthcare is a calling, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a business, it's a calling, right?
That's true.
You do something. So for me, it's always exciting to hear Shez getting into this, kind of innovation, how the future will look like, because it makes our life not only easier, but it also drives us. It drives the team to continue to make the effort, because we know that something is happening that will change someone's life.
Yeah.
Samir said the thing, and this is somebody else's quote, but it really speaks to me. And you talk about calling. There's a thing that says you can either have a job, you can have a career, or you can have a calling.
Yeah.
And if you can find your calling, you'll never have a job. Or you not need a job.
Yeah, the triangle.
So I think that's exactly right, Samir. Which is, do what you love what you do.
Yes, and then you don't have to work.
Yeah, it just changes the way. By the way, that comes to your earlier question of work-life balance. When you're doing what you love,
exactly,
it's not about I gotta put this away now and do this other thing.
There
is a greater circle that connects when you look at it in a lens that's broader.
Yeah,
find your calling, and then your work-life integration changes the way you the energy changes, you're coming to work, the way you come to work and show up changes, the way your team see you change, the way you inspire change, the impact in the world you have changes.
Your happiness also depends on it.
That's why I said earlier, exactly. So these are all
interconnected.
This entire drive is interconnected.
I love that. But I love the vibe and the energy, and now I know it's the 3 coffees.
Yeah, you know what you see what 3 coffees do.
Yeah. This is the proof.
Now I'm hyper caffeinated. You just don't want me hypo caffeinated.
That's it.
I actually think
maybe 1 coffee before.
I think I own the domain hypercaffeinated.com. I think at one point I did. I may not anymore because everybody gets domains, but I think I owned hypercaffeinated.com.
For real?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I should look it up. I know I did.
Tell me this, what was and because we are the Gen Z millennial audience, we always talk like this. What was the vibe like in '88 when you started? You should tell me about the time when you started, because you were doing photography and you were comparing that to the radiology. So just take me through that time, folks.
When I started, the vibe was a lot of paper around you, and when you wanted to know what happened to the patient,
you have to go into the history.
You needed to go through a mass of paper, and missing a lot of things. Now you have everything is electronic, but also the fact it's not just to have the information, it's to make the information, the data, useful.
Yeah.
There's no reason just to have tremendous amount of data, but you cannot use it, right?
That's true.
And as Shez was saying yesterday to the press, the fact is, doctors now don't need to see huge amount of data and graphs, and they just need to know an information.
Just one.
What is it that they need to do immediately? And you're talking about Gen Z. Gen Z don't spend time, reading.
Yeah, we don't.
They want the information immediately.
That's true.
This immediate thing.
Yeah.
We need, as a company, to integrate it into how we build our products, right?
I'm going to tell you a data point. I don't know if it's 88, but it's a data point that as a Gen Z millennial, it would shock people.
Okay.
So we did it when I remember I said I was chief digital officer for a number of years.
Yes.
We did a time and motion study in the emergency department. And would you believe it that physicians spent in the paper era, physicians spent 50% of their time in the emergency department looking for the chart.
Yes.
No.
So what we did a time motion
in the ERs, everywhere.
In other words, here you come to work, and we time and motioned what they do. And remember, it's paper chart. So
Yes.
To document, you have to find the chart. And you might think, well, why would it be so hard? But believe me, I work on the floors. The charts, like someone will take the chart, the nurse will take the chart, the physician takes the chart, goes, sits in a corner, does something, and leaves the chart there. Emergency department physicians were spending half their time looking for the patient chart. And
if any of you have been in the ER, you know the chaos.
Yeah, the chaos.
So add all of that to that.
To the fact that you can't find the chart, because you have to imagine, if you write an order for a patient, you need the chart. You want to write a history with the patient, you want to read the history, lab results, come back and put in the chart. You got to find the chart. The labs just would come back paper, the nurse would put the chart, they would flag the red flag up, and then they would put so this 50% of the time was not in front of the patient, was not care, it was looking for a binder.
Ouch.
So that's the vibe
in the office.
In those era. I mean, it was 88, but it was in that era. So we would not accept that today.
Tricky times.
Yeah, tricky times. Unfortunately, non-productive times.
Yeah.
So of course you couldn't do that today, but that's the vibe. Yeah.
Coming to a little fun side of both of you, I would like to know, what are your passions? What are your hobbies? How are you doing the downtime?
So look, I love hiking. I live in Amsterdam now.
Yes.
And Amsterdam's flat.
Yeah,
Netherlands. So regrettably, but one of the things I love doing is hiking, and I used to live in Arizona for a while as well. And actually, the thing I love the most is hiking in the desert.
Oh, the Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon, absolutely. In fact, Grand Canyon, for the audience and for yourself, Grand Canyon is a different kind of hike. So when you go hiking, you will go up when you're fresh, and you come down when you're tired. But in Grand Canyon, you go down when you're fresh. You go up when you're tired.
Oh, no. That's not a kind of hike I like.
so and it's, of course, like 24 miles at the base. So you go down 7,000 feet, go across the base of the canyon, which has been staring at the sky for 600 million years. And then you come up when the sun is beating on your back, coming up 7,000 to 9,000, depending if you come up the south rim or the north rim. And so it's a very different kind of a hike.
No, I would not like that.
Yes.
What about you, Dr. Samir?
I love cooking, right? So I cook. But one
we
thing
share that passion, sir.
Yeah,
we share that passion.
Super.
Sure.
I started kind of a journey, which is more of a kind of really an endeavor, which is bread making.
Wow.
And we can think of it as the simplest food that you can have, right?
That's true.
There's bread everywhere. The complexity of bread making is absolutely astounding to me even today, right? That you just need to add a little bit of flour, water, and salt.
Yeah.
3 ingredients. Adding the 4th ingredient, which is time. Be patient, and the touch of the dough. This for me is absolutely. I mean, this is the kind of time where everything goes down, stress goes down, and I get into this complexity, and I'm absolutely fascinated by that. The time that you put, the environment that you have, the humidity of the air, all those components, those variables are get into that to make this seemingly very simple thing
So fascinating.
what it is.
Yeah.
The variables are, it's so complex. There's 3 ingredients. It's so complex.
How much time are you spending and whereabouts? And how do you have a work-life balance thing that you do?
I spend a lot of time on the airplane, like row like 7T is where I live. But no, look, I gave up on work-life balance, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I've been married a long time, and what worked for us and what works for me is to really look at it as work-life integration.
Okay.
And not work. In other words, work-life balance is the sense that, okay, I'm just doing work, I'm just doing life. And for me, there is no way to separate the two. And for me to sort of be effective and be healthy.
Yeah.
So we've taken the approach in our family, and I've taken the approach, which is how do you integrate work and life? When we're on vacation, my wife insists that I spend some time and get rid of some emails because she knows that then mentally
You're sorted.
I'm there. So that on the other hand, sometimes when if I'm going on a business trip, she might come, and then in the evenings we'll go out to dinner together. She'll see her family, or she'll see somebody if there's a city I'm going to where she has relatives. She'll fly with me. She'll spend time with her family in the evenings. So in that way, she's integrated her life into my work. We do that off hours, and sometimes I integrate my work into her life.
What about you, Doc?
I've been working a lot, but I've been married also for a long time, so we understand each other. 33 years.
Oh yeah.
She's really my safe haven, my safe harbor. But she always keeps me grounded. She knows when to back off and to take the back seat, and she knows how to take me back to some. So we have common understanding.
Yeah.
On what we need to do to make it work. There are things that when even at work, we couldn't think possible, right? That makes our life much easier.
Right.
I remember, when I started working in business, presentations were not even on PowerPoint. PowerPoint was not even used. Emails. So all of this kind of helped us. The caveat of that is that because it's easier, you tend to spend more time doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have more time. But it's all about this balance, whether it is called work-life balance or something else. It's just about how you feel in the moment. You cannot plan these things.
What size PNL and what size of teams are you all managing, and what is the hack to manage multi-continental or multiple teams, large teams?
So the size of teams that I have, as I said, I have 2. It's a total number of team members that I manage globally is about 9,000. But so about a third of that is in the innovation and strategy hat that I wear, and about 2/3 of that is on the enterprise informatics software team. So about 9,000 people globally, and we have innovation hubs in all of the world. So the bigger ones, there are 4 that are bigger in US in Cambridge, in Netherlands in Eindhoven, Shanghai in China, and in Bangalore in India. But we have, of course, many more innovation locations from Brazil to you name it. So, the thing about managing teams globally, I think that it's as you start to have global teams, probably the first thing that you really need to bring to the forefront is to understand that there are cultural differences. So I would say that one of the things that's critical if you're a listener and you're going to go into your career, that you're going to become a global leader, is you have to have you're tuning to how do you inspire teams in the cultural context in which they live. And quite frankly, that goes all the way from feedback, how do they show up in a meeting if there are folks in a particular part of the world never speak in a meeting. It's not because they don't know. It's because culturally they are polite and don't want to interrupt, and you have to sort of draw it up. So managing these teams, it begins with always awareness of who are you talking to today, and if it's a mix, and if it's and then so that's point 1. And then point 2 is you cannot, in my humble opinion, fully manage teams remotely. You have to go to the location, which is part of the reason I said you travel. You have to be in China. You have to be in Bangalore. You have to be in Netherlands or US or in Brazil, where I recently went to. At the end of the day, you're not going to remote control a global team by just sort of sitting in an office in some location and saying, here are your things. You have to
go deal with it.
Yeah, no. And then the last thing I'll say, which comes to your work-life balance thing, you have to understand that when you're ready to go to bed, somebody's getting up to work.
Yeah.
And they may have a question. And if they need to wait till you get up, they're going to bed.
Yes.
And so this idea, as you begin to manage global teams, you have to find that work-life integration, because I'll take calls at 11 at night because my team is waking up in the West Coast and I'm in the Netherlands. But then the rewards, I could go on for the rewards forever.
I'm sure.
I gave you all some of the challenges, but the rewards of working with teams from all over the world, I wouldn't change it for anything.
So cool.
It's so cool. You learn so much every day from the way different people think in different parts of the world, how they innovate, how they push themselves or push each other, how they think and how they deliver. It's a great opportunity for anyone. If you have a chance to lead global teams, you will learn more than you can ever give.
That's so true.
Shez manages a global team, but being at the center of this region, Middle East, Turkey, and Africa, I also have a lot of diversity in my team. I have people, from South Africa, from Turkey, from New Zealand, from Australia, Jordan,
of course,
just India, you just name it, right?
Yeah.
And you also need to manage this type of, they're coming from different backgrounds, so you need to manage it. But also the fact that it's a pretty large zone.
Yeah.
When you think of it, it covers Africa, it covers the Middle East and Turkey. Then it becomes from the perspective of how we manage our teams that are remote. Then it's also like Shez was saying, you need to adapt to the fact that some of our team members, some customers, might have needs that might not really be within your schedule, right?
Yeah.
So we need to adapt. We need to adapt. But the thing I like is really the diversity of my team, coming from those different backgrounds, and every one of them brings some perspective that is different, and this is the richness of this team.
Tell me this, folks. There must be a life-changing moment. Is there a pivotal story that you may have that is a complete transformation of something happened and then something else started playing out as a story?
When I think of one of the most pivotal moments and sort of the lesson that I learned. So one of the things in the peak of the startups era, in the .com era, is that I decided to take a boot camp for startups. Go to boot camp so I went to a boot camp. I went to an event that was a week long, and it was around the various aspects of a startup. And at the last day, when there was the organizers and one of the key individuals was on stage, sort of the final session, everyone's sitting in the audience, and he's on stage and he's got this microphone and he says, "So tell me, you've been here for a week. What's the most important thing about a startup? Yell it out." And everyone's like, "My idea, intellectual, and what's your patent." People are yelling these out, and he just yells, he yells, "BS!" He yells into the mic, and everyone goes silent. He goes, "It's not your idea. If you have even a bad idea, but you have an A team, like a C grade idea, like when you get graded, C grade idea, but an A grade team, the A grade team will take your C idea and make it into a C plus,
or a B,
into a B, into a B plus, and A eventually. So A teams make any idea go up to A." He says, "So don't worry about it." He says, "On the other hand, if you have an A idea and a C team, the C team will make the A idea into an A minus, into a B plus, into a B, and into a C." He says, "So stop worrying about your ideas and start looking for brilliant talent to recruit to your startup."
Do you have a pivotal moment or a story that changed your life and you remember it?
The one thing that was defining, kind of the personal one that I was talking about, because when you have a child that is sick, then
that's the one.
It defines a lot of things. But one of the things that for me, when I started looking at what I'm gonna do and kind of changed a little bit, I switched a little bit of career from the medical side, is this, how do you ensure that you make a group of people better because they are together. And for me, this is kind of my number one job in even now are people. You know, how do I ensure that my people have the right skill set, but also how I can develop my people and grow my people. So for me, if I have to be remembered at one point in time, after a long career, I hope, is that, you know, he grew teams, he grew people.
Yeah, that's how they'll be.
For me, this is the defining factor of success in a career.
I have a quick rapid fire system that we've started. It's just quick questions. All right. If you had to say 2-3 keywords, what is the key to hiring right?
The key things that I look for is a sense of ownership.
Okay.
Because you look, when you're working in a team, it is the thing you don't want to hear is that's not my job.
Yes, I know.
And so the sense of ownership and accountability and focusing to deliver the results, but not just because here's my part, but here's as a team, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
When you're building teams, ownership is really, really important. And so that to me is one of the things I look for. I mean, there are many things, but
three things that we need to give them. So one is ownership, two?
Being able to really earn the trust of your team members.
Okay.
So the empathy, the sense of humility, humbleness, not being sort of, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. So you want someone who has a strong sense of ownership, but also has a sense of humility and ability to earn the trust of their colleagues. Third thing is willingness to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because nobody comes with everything that you need to do the work. That's rare.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You're not looking for someone who's perfectly got everything you need. You're always going to have some gaps, but that growth mindset, that willing to learn and to improve themselves, you put those three things to me together as sort of humility, and ability to trust, ownership, and a growth, sort of willingness to learn.
Mindset, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, actually the same kind of this sense of almost sense of urgency.
Yeah.
People need to kind of embrace something and go do it.
Yeah.
And not fear failure, because for me, it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's not okay just to be kind of in a comfort zone and doing nothing and expecting change. You know, it's okay. And I tell my team, I don't mind if you fail. I would mind if you don't try, right?
Fair enough.
But the other thing, when I hire, I try to hire people that I think would be better than me.
Okay.
Kind of really hiring people that would be, you know,
challenging
not only my successor, but really better at things than me. And I'm not worried about it. And actually, it adds talent. It adds, you know, brain power to your team.
Correct.
And this is how teams grow and evolve. And Shez was talking about growth mindset.
Yeah.
The growth mindset is to have, you know, brains that challenge each other, but look in the same direction.
Is there a hack to reprimand right? How do you say things which are a little harsh sometimes to your teams? Feedback or anything?
When I look at feedback, I look at them in two dimensions. One is I always, first and foremost, you want to also highlight people's superpowers.
Okay.
So if all you view feedback is as a way to say what are the gaps, then I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah.
So everybody has superpowers, things that are really good at, and you want to make sure that you know that you've recognized that, and that you want that to not only foster it, but for them to maybe coach others on those superpowers. So that's point one. Point two is the way I look at feedback for areas of growth is by framing it as what is it that I would like them to achieve next year.
Yeah.
So, look, annual review sort of, I'm using that metaphor as a model.
Understood.
As a metaphor as a model. So if your annual review, it's sort of saying, well, look, last year I saw that here's your superpowers, got it. And then last year, X, Y, Z, these are your gaps. But really what I'm saying is next year, I'd like to see you develop a greater sense of ownership, for example. So framing it as to where you are wanting the person to go, it's a slight difference in approach by saying, look, here's your gaps. And what I'm really saying is, here's in the next 12 months, let's work on X together. Here's what I want to see. What is a special project you can do that builds this capability that what you're really saying is last year I didn't see?
So the opportunity versus...
Yeah, and by the way, if you're really trying to give feedback as a leader, you're really, the opportunity is to create that special initiative and project that allows the person to develop where the gap...
deliver.
Yeah, so it's the frame of the vector saying you're doing well of this, do more of it, and coach others on this. And here's what I'd like to see you work on next year. And ideally, let's think of an initiative, a project, small side project, that capability that you thought was lacking is delivered through that initiative.
Amazing.
Because to just say to someone, look, I need you to take greater ownership, that's so abstract.
What about you, Doc? How are you
And also, I
reprimanding?
meant to add to what Shez was saying.
Yes.
As long as your team trusts you, even if your feedback is kind of
Harsh.
not harsh, but let's say constructive and kind of with an idea in mind, with an objective in mind, people take it as a gift. Feedback is a gift, right? So as long as there is this trust that you are there to grow them and to develop them and to nurture that talent, I think people are smart enough to kind of take the feedback as it is, and it's not just a gratuitous critique. Right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's of course, it's coming from a psychiatrist. It won't surprise you. The tone, the gesture, the tone of voice, the way you convey your message are all important things that you need to get into the mix. But at the end, it all boils down to kind of the trust that your team has, and if your team trusts you, then they take any kind of feedback you can give them.
What is your morning routine? What do you wake up and do first things, and then continue till what 10 a.m. Tell me.
If I told you anything other than I check my phone, I'd be lying. Okay, so
That's so true, right? For all of us.
Right. Look, the alarm is on the phone. I think that's the real big problem.
That's true.
That's the reality. Is you turn off the alarm and now it's in your hand.
Yeah.
So, but no, look, that was partly tongue in cheek. So for me, part of my morning routine begins in the evening, where the last thing I do before I go to bed is I'm on the stationary bike, looking over one of the canals, and I'm biking. Then I take a shower, and I'm exhausted. I go to bed. So when I wake up, I am fresh as can be.
So
now just caffeinate me, and then I'm ready to go.
sorted.
I'm ready to go.
Amazing. What about you, Doc? What's your morning routine like?
Look, before my double espresso in the morning, I'm not the person to be next to.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a little bit grumpy. I cannot really engage in a conversation
Oh wow.
before having my coffee.
Interesting.
And for me, it's I remember when I told you my wife knows when to kind of back off. This is one of those
That's the
moments, right?
morning time.
She knows that coffee needs to get in the system first.
All right.
Yeah. I discovered quite late in my life that I needed a certain amount of hours. I always thought that 7 hours would be okay to me, but then I discovered the power of 9 hours. So, but you need discipline on that.
I'm
because
jealous.
you need to get
9? Did you say 9 hours?
9 hours every day.
Dang.
This is what keeps the rest of the hours of the day extremely
I'm
productive.
doing something wrong, my friend.
No, that shapes up your health also, and mental health and physical health. Isn't that right, Doc?
I'm in deep trouble.
You get
No, but Doc,
the guilt will eat
I
you.
relate to that a little. I sleep 8 hours. Not when I'm traveling. Then it's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
When traveling, it's impossible.
Yes.
I tend to kind of try to respect the discipline. Of course, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
There are times where there's work to be done before the morning. So, but I try to get as close as possible from those 9 hours.
How difficult or easy is it dealing with external vendors, and how do you ease the process? Like, what do you do? And Dr. Samir, you should start, because you constantly talk about going out and meeting a lot of vendors and customers. How do you make it more easier and more seamless?
Look, first, being convinced, what you're bringing to the table, right? Whether it is for customers, doctors, this is something, and you need to be convinced of what you're bringing, because then it will determine the way you talk about it. Right?
The conviction won't show
Yes,
otherwise.
it should. With partners, is really kind of we're having this motto at Aalambayan, partnering with purpose. It's not just about the business. It's just about selling product. It's really about what is the purpose of what we're doing. Whether it is Phillips bringing innovations, bringing new products and solutions. From Shez team, there are thousands of people that are working every day to bring about those innovations. But also from our partner, how do we go together? Because even the partners, and Shez was alluding to it at the very beginning, even the partners that we met during Arab Health, they want to change their community. They want to be part of this change. They want to develop their own teams. They're asking us help us develop, our own teams like you develop your own teams.
So cool.
And for me, this is extremely important to integrate into our thought process.
Yeah.
When you do that, business takes care of itself.
What about you? What is your
Look, one of the things I love about Phillips is that we have the position that the patient journey is going to be serviced by many organizations and companies. And if you take the position that that's really what you're focused on, is to improve the lives and well-being of people, then you realize that you are not the only organization that's going to fulfill the journey's needs.
So you find the right partner.
So you begin with this, that the DNA of the company is that we, in order to fulfill the journey, we are not acting alone. We cannot cover it all alone. And if you believe that, the natural conclusion is you need partners, because you want to delight physicians, delight nurses, delight patients, and care for them. So that itself sets the tone of how, in your partner with purpose, the purpose is the patient journey. The purpose is the clinician's daily work life. And so that actually makes it easier. We are looking for great partners because we know we cannot do it alone.
You're right.
So that change, as opposed to thinking we can do it all alone, we need no. So that's not the. And that's actually one of the reasons I came to Phillips, because I saw that when I was not working at Phillips, I saw Phillips as one of the companies that really was eagerly looking to delight the clinician, to delight the patient, to delight the consumer. We need to broaden the lens. We'll do our part, you do your part, and so that's partnering with purpose.
So everybody coming in together.
And that's okay. We have
better of everything. Super, perfect.
Yeah.
AI is the big buzzword.
Yeah.
But medical healthcare has been deploying AI since a while.
Yeah.
The audiences don't know this. Can you tell me what currently excites you about AI, and what was the first time you hearing of AI had happened, and what was the outcome of it?
You have 2 passengers in this car. Half of those passengers, this is your guy.
You know, of course, generative AI has been in 2023 really came on the scene. It's not that it was invented in 23, but it really came to maturity in a way that is being used. And in healthcare, I'm going to give you an example of what Phillips is doing, which is actually a dream of many physicians and nurses. So if you ever go see a physician today, there's a computer, there's a keyboard and a mouse. And sadly, a lot of time they're looking at the keyboard and mouse, documenting.
Yeah.
They actually, of course, they turn and look at you, talk to you, but then they would turn and click and...
Because they're adding to the history.
Right.
Yeah.
And the real dream has been, for the longest time, for those who have been involved in healthcare on the sort of the inside, is...
Please let us know in the comments below if you're a healthcare professional watching this, please.
Yeah. Is how and when will we be able to remove the keyboard and mouse so that the physician and nurse completely still interact with the patient, and just ambiently the room says those were the doctor's comments, those were the patient's comments, and writes the medical note. So I will tell you, in 2023 we did that, and the electronic medical, we have an electronic medical record that's the biggest business in Latin America. It's not in this region yet. We're just starting to look at it. And you have to see this video. You will not believe it. Literally, the physician and patient are talking, and the electronic medical record is just capturing the notes, extracting all the right codes, because you have to extract codes in medicine. Here's the code for this diagnosis, code for that. And so the patient-physician interaction remains natural. Humanly, and then ambiently listening. The electronic medical record called Tazi from Phillips documents everything. This is some of the most exciting things I have seen recently. And it's just, to me, this is because the patient-physician interaction is the crucible of care.
Yeah, that's so true.
And what we have unfortunately done in the past 10 years is inserted technology as a facade between the patient and the physician.
Yeah, to add to what Shez was saying, technology for the sake of it, that does nothing. But when technology becomes not a wall, but being completely transparent to the user, then those natural interactions, take precedence, and therefore, then we go back into what the doctor-patient relation.
Yeah.
Looking each other in the eye, looking at everything instead of looking at the screen or a keyboard. So once this technology becomes completely transparent, I think this is where the big leap in healthcare, in the way healthcare is delivered. Because then it becomes a human interaction, not just a scientific interaction.
Yeah, you watch Star Trek?
Yeah.
So how, the sick bay, when you walk in, you're just talking, there's an avatar.
Yeah.
Is anyone typing on a keyboard in that room?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's all happening.
Well, look, how often reality follows science fiction.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you went to an ER or an IC unit and you realized that AI was already doing some things and there was already... So when was this? How long ago did medicine deploy AI that we are not aware of?
Let me start with Phillips, a comment or two, and then I'll go to my own experience. So certainly, Phillips has been doing AI for, 20 years.
Oh, yeah?
Because AI has been used in we make machines, MRI scanners, CT scanners, ultrasound, and geographic equipment. And then, but in healthcare, where machine learning and algorithms have been used for a long time, is in predicting infections. They're called sepsis alerts. Sepsis is a Latin word for infection.
Okay.
So for a long time, in fact, ICU used the example of ICU. One of the things in an ICU is to be able to monitor patients to make sure that they don't have an infection, because if in the ICU, if they get an infection, then it's really bad. They might pass away.
Okay.
And so predicting that a patient is going to get an infection has been something that's been going on in intensive care units for a long time. Phillips, even in our tele-IC equipment, has been doing it. In fact, earlier, when Samir talked about predicting infection and having 30% less mortality, is an AI algorithm that has been, if you will, used, not just Phillips has been using it, but also others. So when you think back to earliest that I can think of, it's most often the most studied and the most advanced thing that has been done that I can think of right now is trying to predict infection in a patient in the hospital. And that's been going on for a while.
For about 2 decades, you say?
I'd say 2 decades. Yeah.
Oh, damn. If you all knew that, then please hit subscribe button and tell us when you knew and how you knew that. And that's super, boss. Now, we had no idea.
The effectiveness is getting better and better, to be fair. Because, how effective you were 15 years ago at predicting infection versus how effective you are today,
100%.
It's gotten better. But this is in the space. If you were in a hospital 15 years ago and said, hey, where do we use prediction models? They would say ICU for infection.
Yeah.
And it's important that people think about AI as a technology that can be transparent, that can do work in the background without you even noticing, right?
Yeah.
AI is not a product. And this is where either in automating tasks, when a doctor or a nurse spends, 40% of the time doing administrative tasks, and when you have those tasks, done by AI, then you free time for them to be going back into this human interaction, being in front of the patient.
That's true.
Rather than in front of a computer or, just filling forms.
But sorry for the little delay in the morning.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
It was fun. I had a lot of fun. Did you all like it?
I did. I loved it. I will force my children to watch it so they
amazing.
So they get to know their dad.
You need to send it out to the 9,000 people and then tell them appraisal will have questions.
There would be a quiz.
Yes, there will be quizzes.